Hello and welcome to the vlog, which comes to you today from a very crowded, as you can see, Braunston, because it is the annual Historic Boat Rally. It's a hugely popular event, with boats coming from all over the country, leading to a certain degree of canal congestion around Braunston. Boats are moored up 3 or 4 abreast, with just room for passing traffic to squeeze by if they're careful. Despite the irrational weather, sun and rain throughout the day, this is an event that packs in the spectators, young and old. There's plenty of colour and spectacle, and hundreds of people line the towpath to watch. Here's a steam tug built in the 1980s from a hull and engine dating back a further 100 years. Also steaming along the Grand Union, the narrowboat President, built in 1909 at a cost then of £600. Now a museum piece, the boat would have carried 18 tons of cargo between London and Birmingham in its heyday. But this historic boat was about to get unstuck when another came through a bridge the other way, blocking the route.
Now we feel very awkward. We should have given the way to President.
They laughed it off, but President had nowhere really to go to let the other boat past. So after some hefty chuffing of the steam engine and a trip into the reeds on the offside bank, a bit of manual grunt power had this fine old craft pointing in the right direction again in order to join the cavalcade further up the canal. Once powered by a compound engine, the boat's now using a more modern replacement, as the driver told me.
It's a single-cylinder engine. It was made by Sissons in the 1950s. So it's not the original engine, but it's a pretty close engine to what would have originally been in here. Would have originally been a compound on a single crank. There's a Scotch marine boiler that supplies the steam for it.
And how much coal do you get through and how much water do you get through?
I'm not sure on water exactly, but it burns about 1/4 of a tonne a day. But that depends what you're doing. Today we won't burn a lot, but when we're out running between shows, yeah, 1/4 of a tonne's about right.
Had you wanted to visit by modern boat, you'd largely have been out of luck, with a decent length of towpath set aside for the classic craft. Those arriving were welcomed by an army of Mr. Chads, the objects of their affections clearly visible in the distance. Many of these historic craft have histories that could fill a book, but for a show like this, a mere side of A4 has to suffice, both the boats themselves and the companies they were worked by being detailed in information printed out for the curious. The modern all-steel cabin is a luxury the working boats can only dream of, tarpaulin covers fastened with rope or bungee cord providing the waterproof roof here. There are still some working boats on the canal system, carrying supplies to other narrowboats, coal, gas, diesel. Each has its regular route along a particular section of canal, and usually regular customers too. Need a bag of coal and see one of these come past? Just flag it down, or preferably book ahead by phone or online if possible. Here's a genuine klaxon horn wound by the handle at the back. Here a discreet solar panel provides a touch of the modern on a chassis of the old. This is an unusual craft, looks a bit like a tin toy boat that I had when I was a child, but this is the narrowboat Sharpness, a 1908 motor tunnel tug, also apparently an icebreaker, working narrowboat, and they say neither a barge nor a submarine. And this just sounds splendid. It had to be filmed for the noise alone. The boats were doing float pasts all day, in and out of the marina and up to this double bridge where they could turn. A bit of a contorted and tortuous manoeuvre. Having gone under the first bridge, they'd go up to where the canal splits and reverse down the other arm back onto the Grand Union Canal. Emerging from there backwards, they'd then go forwards, now heading back the way they'd just come. Inevitably this came as a bit of a surprise to anyone coming down the canal from the north, though most boaty people are well aware of this event taking place and know that things could get a bit sticky, especially when multiple boats are backing up and down at the same time. The man who owns Braunston Marina, and whose event this is, says it's a pleasure to bring such history to the heart of the canal network.
Well, I like to put something back into the canals. It's been my livelihood for nearly 30 years. At the end of the day, they're heavily dependent for their survival on the efforts of various volunteers. In my own way, I like to sort of give back by using my own skills, organisation skills, etc., using the site to put on an event like this, which does a lot to promote the waterways and also the preservation of historic boats.
What do you think the draw? There's a certain magic about the historic boats, isn't there? What is it, if you could put it into words?
Well, they are very elegant, beautiful things. They were bloody uncomfortable. The amount of space you had for living quarters was very cramped. And of course, they worked very long hours, which we echoed last week. We got up at 5 o'clock. We were going at 5 o'clock in the morning, and we carried on till 8. They would most probably have gone on till 9, even 10 in the middle of summer like that.
And final question, how do you think today is going or has gone?
I think it's gone pretty well. I think given the state of the weather at the moment, this has been the wettest tune on record, and we had a dunking this morning. We haven't had a dunking this afternoon, which we were threatened with. But I think it's gone reasonably well. It's good for the canals to have all parts of the canals visited by lots of visitors. This weekend people are visiting Lymm in Lancashire. They visited Middlewich last weekend. Next weekend they can go to Basingstoke, and so it goes on. And I think that's great for the waterways.
This being England, the event wouldn't be complete without the obligatory Morris dancing, all bells and clogs and wave hankies. Apparently, the instrument on the far end is a hurdy-gurdy, which are still made in France, apparently. I don't pretend to understand the appeal of Morris dancing, but they seem happy enough. I'll leave you now with not the usual scenery montage, but a boaty montage instead. Thanks for watching. Cheerio.